Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. I am so excited to be here with you guys on this morning to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and that's leadership. And when you hear the word leadership, there's several different things that come to mind. The thing is that whatever you determine leadership to be, that's what it will be in the capacity that you serve. So today we're going to talk a little bit from my experiences as charging into leadership. So I am Dr. Quentin J. Lee. I'm the superintendent of Talladega City Schools, and that's in a small city school district in Talladega, Alabama. I have approximately 1,800 students in my district with 6 schools. Most of you may remember me from this. Well, this is how it started. This is when I was principal. All right, so that was at a pet rally. Just a fun pet rally that we were having at school. And that evolved into this. This is the COVID-19 parody that we did. The first time we went viral was with the Hit the Quan video. The second time is when we did the Can't Touch This parody. We posted it collectively. On my page, it has 6.4 million views. It was picked up by Today Show, Good Morning America. I got to meet Cedric the Entertainer, MC Hammer, Hoda, Anderson Cooper, Lester Holt. I went on a huge circuit, actually was able to do some interviews over in virtually with Australia, Germany. Tried to do one in Japan, but they didn't have enough time to get it translated. So let's watch this video. Can't touch this. The virus hits me so hard. All the teachers say, "Oh my Lord, COVID is stressing me all of the external states." I saw, can't get done. I look all around this town. I've had no luck. And these are things up. You can't touch. I told you, students, you better pull that mask off. It's the CDC, not me. Hey, go wash your hands. Fresh from the room. And that's all we say. Go wash your hands, so move. Back up 6 feet. You better not cough and you better not sneeze in addition. Hold on, let me check your chin. Not under your arm. Like that. Like that. You're all clear. Go to the back. Everybody says it's too much, and these other things you can't touch. Yo, I told you. Why are y'all standing so close? Back up. Every time you see me, Dr. Lee is 7 times. I'm gonna keep my hand clean, but the cases are on the rise. Now, why would I ever stop doing this while others get ill? I don't want to be sick. I've been to all the classrooms from the stairs into the gym. It's me, go Lee, Dr. Lee, yo, Dr. Lee. Look at the rock, can't touch this. Can't touch this. Break it down. Dixie. Stop, sanitize. All right, so just to talk a little bit about that video. The video was so cool. Every year I try to do a video to engage our students into being excited about coming back to campus. I shared the idea with some of my friends, and I told them that when they said, "You got to run with it, you got to run with it." So it took me about 35 minutes to come up with the lyrics. I recorded it upstairs on my computer, and then I called one of my videographer friends that actually records videos for a lot of my students, rap videos. And we shot the video in about an hour, 15 minutes, and then it went gold. Like, it was an awesome time. Through this process, this was a great example of leadership because I had a lot of students that were making rap videos that may not have had the appropriate message that needs to be put out. So I was able to go through the process with them on YouTube, which I learned this up myself because I lost about $16,000 doing this because of the way the copyright and sharing goes on YouTube. So those who are making money on YouTube, keep going. But it was an opportunity to really show leadership in our country. During that time, there was a huge divide. Culturally, we were going through a lot as a nation. We were going through a lot with COVID-19. And for that moment, for those 2 minutes and 9 seconds, I think it was, we were all able to sit there and heal together and laugh and share a laugh. We thought we were just being able to help our campus, but we were able to help touch the world. That video has also been featured in a few film festivals, and I've received a lot of messages about, hey, I was having a bad day. That video made me smile, do more. We did make another video to Ghostbusters. It's called Germ Busters. But the really cool thing is we were able to share joy. And as a leader, you have got to be able to share joy, because in your leadership capacity, you're going to be providing for other people. People are going to look to you for hope. People are going to look to you to be the example of everything to come. Now, did we have all the answers for COVID-19? Absolutely not. We did not. But as a school leader, you've got to make sure that you are putting out there that you have the best answers at that moment that are going to best suit the needs of your staff and the needs of your students that you serve, and in the capacity of your leadership, those that are under you. So that video sparked a lot, and it was able to give me a platform to do many of the things I'm doing today. So today you're going to hear a message about leadership, and you're going to hear through my stories with education, because I love education. So the first thing you already see, I want you to meet Jerome. That was me when I was about 4 or 5 years old. What you see here is a little boy with this bright, infectious smile, a jazzy, sharp dresser at the age of 5. But what you don't see is the hurt that was behind that smile. Because at 5-year-old, I didn't know who my father was. At 5 years old, we were extremely poor. Like, I grew up in poverty. By the time I graduated high school, we had lived in 18 different houses. So it was nothing for me to come home and be able to help my mom move out of a house within 6 hours using nothing but boxes and garbage bags, because that's all we had. It was nothing to go home with no lights, nothing to go home with no water. But during that time, I just thought that's how everyone did. I didn't know anything different, because even though that we didn't have a lot of financial resources, one thing that we always had was a lot of love. And that's something that my mom instilled in us. Make sure that you love people. So I was the second of 6 boys. My mom had 6 boys, and it was tough. Growing up was tough. But I look at this picture and I see someone who I didn't realize that at that age, but I see promise, I see hope, even though it was a mask. So I want you to meet 2 of my educational heroes. The teacher on the left is Miss Doolin. That's where she was then. She's Miss Wagner now. That's my kindergarten teacher. My kindergarten teacher loved me, and I loved my kindergarten teacher. Back in kindergarten, I used to suck 2 of my fingers. I did. Some people suck their thumb. I don't know. I just sucked 2 fingers, and I couldn't break it. And I didn't want to go to sleep during that time because I felt that people would laugh at me. Well, my kindergarten teacher understood that. So while everyone else was taking a nap, I was running errands in kindergarten. I did that because she allowed me to have that opportunity to feel safe in that moment. And so my mom passed away about almost 7 years ago. And when my mom passed away, if you're on social media, you get a lot of different messages. And there's a lot of messages coming to my inbox. Some of them I read, some of them I didn't read. But it was about a year later, I went back to my inbox, and there was a message from my kindergarten teacher telling me that she had heard about my mom passing and she was praying for me. That message meant the world to me. So there's a famous lawyer and author in Alabama. Her name is Liz Huntley. She wrote a book called More Than a Bird. And it's about her story, how she went through being adopted, her parents, one of them committed suicide. It's just a huge story of triumph. But in her book, she talks about her superhero, and that was her kindergarten teacher. So I said, let me reach out to my kindergarten teacher. So I called her, and she came to visit me, and it was awesome. Being able to walk around, show her to my current students. And then the guy on the right, that's Mr. George Cobb. That was my hero. Mr. Cobb was the first male role model I had in my life. He was cool, not just because he was Black or not just because he was a guy. He was cool because he actually saw me for who I was. So I'm not athletic. I know that you all are probably confused by my height, that maybe I'm in the NBA, but I'm not. But I was not athletic in high school. I couldn't play sports. I tried out for basketball, shot the ball over the goal. People laughed. I vowed that I would just retire from the NBA that day, but I am not athletic. But one thing I could really do is I could play in band, musical, like I had all kind of musical talent. So I played the saxophone, loved the saxophone. But those of you who have been in band know that you go to the meeting, your instrument, your parents have to pay for it. So in 7th grade, my mama didn't pay for it. So I go to band class one day and my instrument's gone. And my band director brings me in the office. She said, hey, they came and repossessed your instrument. But what we're going to do is we're going to switch you to the baritone saxophone. That's a school instrument. And that way you don't have to worry about anyone ever taking your instrument again. I was like, okay, cool. So she made it as if I had received a promotion, switched to Barry sax, was killing it, was loving it, but they didn't have a Barry sax in the marching band. So Mr. Cobb was one of my assistant band directors. He said, hey, Jerome, you got big lips. Why don't you play the tuba? What? And I did have big lips. So I said, okay. So I started playing the tuba and fell in love with it. I ended up making all-state band off of him taking me under his wing and teaching me. He went to Alabama A&M University, so I went to Alabama A&M University. He pledged fraternities, so I pledged fraternities. He became one of the biggest driving forces in my life. So when I did receive a scholarship to Alabama A&M, I didn't have to call and tell him about it. He was there because he took me there, and he also helped me fill out my FAFSA information and everything to get me into school. So that's the power of leadership. Now, was that a textbook example of leadership? No. But what they did for me was they empowered me to be able to believe. So you've got to meet my mom. This is Miss Etna. My mom raised 6 boys by herself. My mom was one of the strongest women I've ever met in my entire life. She actually was diagnosed with colon cancer. And the first death sentence that she received, they told us it was 10 months and she would be gone. So a year after that, she had another surgery. They told us, hey, 6 months, y'all go ahead and get ready. She lived 9 years after being given a death sentence. She never complained, and she fought, we believe, so that we could get everything that we needed out of life. My mom made ways out of no way for us. And she was a leader, not only just in our home, but she was a leader in our community because so many people looked up to her. But my mom taught me 4 critical things that I still take with me today, and I hope that you can learn the lessons out of this. And that's number 1, love one another. There's so much stuff that's going on in our world today that hate would be the easiest thing to do. But when you truly love and truly show genuine care for others, it would change the trajectory of where you're going to go in life. Second thing she taught us was to work hard. You've got to work hard. In leadership, you have got to work hard. There are going to be days that you get up and you just do not feel it, but you still have got to press through because people are depending, people are counting on you. Also, you got to believe in yourself. Sometimes that's the hardest one, but you've got to believe in yourself. There's this thing called imposter syndrome. And sometimes I didn't suffer from it, where you believe that you're not well enough, you're not equipped enough, you don't have all the skills. But each and every room that you walk in, you deserve to be in there. And that's something I had to learn for myself. And also be kind. It doesn't cost a single dime to be kind to someone. These 4 components here have really helped shape me into the person that I am today. Now, what I want you to do is, as we go through this presentation, you'll see a couple of houses in the background. Those are houses that we used to live in when we were growing up. That's a reminder to me of where I've come from. Sometimes we think that where we can't have come from is something that we should be embarrassed by. No, we should embrace it because it helps build your story. You don't go through things in life just so that you can go through them. You go through them so you can tell that to other people so that they can have a better experience. So I don't mind talking about growing up extremely poor because that means I'm able to help someone else maybe not go through the same experiences that I went through. I don't mind talking about the struggles that we had. I don't mind talking about academically when I went to college, how I didn't graduate in 4 years. I didn't graduate in 5 years. I did graduate in 6. No, I'm not gonna put that out there. But I was a music major and the program was extremely tough. And there was this thing that I don't know if you all do it here, but it's called partying. I did way too much of it, so don't do that. But even in hindsight, everything worked out the way it should be. See, part of my story is that I'm in education because when I went to get my scholarship, I received a full scholarship in music because I was a music major. I wanted to be a lawyer. And my mom told me, hey, Jerome, we don't have money. If you're going to college, you're going to have to get there the best way you can. I just don't have it. So instead of being defeated, I decided I've got to go make a way out of no way. So if I major in music, that's a full scholarship. That means that I don't have to go home and work in the rug mill. I can go to college and do something. And that's what I did. So originally, my leadership was just going to be, I was going to be a band director. My last name is Lee. Drumline was hot back then. So I was going to be like Dr. Lee in Drumline. I was going to have my band. We was going to go blow on everyone and we was just going to be done. But I was able to go to this school called Talladega County Central High School. And all this is about leadership. The school was grades 7 through 12 and only had 175 students. So very small in the country. When I first got there were 21 kids in the band. After my first semester, it went to 65. Now, they joined the band because they saw vision. They joined the band because leadership. They also joined the band because I used to walk around with posters saying, join the band, I'll give you pizza. Like, I had to get out the box to try to meet them where they were so that they would feel a sense of belonging. And it got to the point where almost half the school was joining the band. I had football players trying to quit football to join the band. And we used to do these things called Battle of the Bands and go to different parades on the weekend. And this small school would go to these Battle of the Bands with 100 and something kids. And like, where are these kids coming from? Well, it was kids from other schools that were coming over after their band practice that wanted to participate. Half the football team after football practice would come to band practice so they could march. It was fun. It was an experience. And was it tough? It was. But they saw the promise and it gave them some lifelong experiences. So in keeping up with our principles, the first thing that we need to talk about is your mindset. You've got to have a growth mindset. There are two mindsets that you can have, growth mindset or a fixed mindset. So I challenge you, what are you thinking? If you think you can't do it, then it can't be done. But if you think you can do it, then you will work like everything that's in you to make sure it gets done. So what are you thinking? What are you thinking about the way that you're approaching your schooling, the next steps in life? I remember I'm just in college and I'm real transparent, so y'all gonna learn a lot about me today. But I'm in college and I'm sitting there in lessons with my professor and we're playing the tuba because it was a private lesson. And he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm playing my instrument. What do you mean? He said, no, what are you doing with your life? You've been in school. Do you have any focus? Like, what are you trying to do? And it was at that moment that I had to have a really hard, tough conversation with myself. So we sat down, stopped the lesson, and we planned out the rest of my college. Now, keep in mind that I was struggling academically. Academic probation after the first year, almost got kicked out of school. Like, that was me. But we sat down and we crafted a plan. And he said, well, for next semester, you're going to have to take 19 hours. I said, who? He said, you got to, if you want to get out of here, you've got to take 19 hours. I said, well, I'm working, I'm trying to do band, I have a child, like, what are we doing? He said, if you want to get out of here, you got to take 19 hours. I took 19 hours and made straight A's. That next semester, I had to take 18 hours, made straight A's and 1 B. Stats are hard. But there was a difference because I was focused, the outcome was different. And I had to change my mindset. So when we're talking about having a growth mindset, there's two ways that we can look at it. So the growth mindset, you say things such as, I like to try new things versus I give up easily. So we're going to have the same challenges in life, regardless what mindset that you have. It's how you perceive what goes on to be the outcome. So for example, with a fixed mindset, you might say that my potential is predetermined. Or if you have a growth mindset, it could be, I can learn to do what I want. It's how you view it, especially in the terms of leadership. How do you view your leadership style? And how do you view the things that you're trying to do to get those that are following you to believe? Now, when you have a fixed mindset, it says that I am as smart today as I will ever be in life. And that's not true. Each and every day you're alive, you can learn something new. So your growth mindset is definitely what helps determine how far you will continue to grow. So if you have a fixed mindset, you might say, I avoid challenges because I just avoid challenges. I don't want them. Versus I embrace challenges. The number one thing as a leader that you have got to do is you've got to embrace feedback. Feedback is not always negative. Feedback is very critical if you're going to get better. Now, if you go to fast food, and I know sometimes I go a little bit more than I should, but if you go to fast food, on the back of your receipt, you'll get a number and a code. And if you fill that code, you can get you a free burger with the purchase of a drink and fry at most of the places. But they're looking for feedback because they take the feedback and they get better. So feedback is only constructive if you take it to do something with it. For example, you're in a college setting. You would not want to be in a class where you just took a bunch of tests and never got the scores from your test. So when you're getting feedback, you got to do something with it. And we have to also know that we learn from our feedback. So make sure that we are incorporating a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. And this is in terms of leadership, but this is in terms of personally. When you have personal goals that you would like to accomplish, when you're looking for those next steps in life, it decides if you want to maybe pursue getting married or starting a family, buying a house, like look at the possibilities from a growth mindset. One quick example is that right now, you guys know the housing market is just like booming. Housing market is booming. Well, a few years ago, we made the decision to buy a foreclosure, and we had to do some fixing up. So it didn't look good at first. It didn't. We put some money in it. But now our house has increased by $170,000. So I want to sell and keep the money, but it's not wise to do that right now in this market. But that's just the difference between having a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Sometimes it's going to take a little bit of work to get it where you need it to be. So people that have a growth mindset, there's three things that we need to talk about. Number one is having an attitude of gratitude. You've got to be thankful. And in terms of leadership, you've got to show people that you appreciate what they do. The number one thing is that people don't have to follow you. Just because you have a title doesn't make you a leader. And in order to be a leader, you don't have to have a title. So make sure that you have an attitude of gratitude, making sure that you're thanking people for when they're helping you, thanking people for when they're providing for you. Thank you is two small words, but it can mean the world to someone. Have you ever opened the door for someone as they're coming through and they don't say thank you? You want to take that door and slam and hit them? But just a simple thank you to show that you really appreciate it. The next thing we need to talk about is just take responsibility of your happiness. Now, I know we're talking about leadership, but this is a personal thing. If everyone can make you unhappy, then you need to really evaluate what process that you have in place and what boundaries that you have set. Your happiness depends on you. Your happiness depends on you. It's a personal decision. Now, I'm not saying that every single day is going to be a bunch of roses and sunshine when you wake up, but your happiness shouldn't be determined by external forces. That's something that you control. That's something that you control. You're not responsible how other people view you. You're responsible for making sure that you do what you need to do in order to be successful. And that means sometimes you got to cut people off. There's a real powerful tool on social media. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but it's that unfriend button on Facebook. I'm telling you, it will free up a lot of nights. But you've got to take control of your happiness. Because if you're happy and if you're in a position of being a leader, then other people will flock to you. But if you're a leader and someone comes to you with a problem and you bite their head off, they're not going to come to you. Now, I was a principal, but I was one of those, I guess you could say, cool principals, because everybody always wanted to come to me and like, get out of my office, go to a class. Like they would really try to skip class to come sit in the office and talk, which I appreciate those conversations because I was able to build some lifelong connections with those students. But sometimes we had to have tough conversations. If there was opportunities that we had to talk about discipline or redirecting them. But they were never upset because there was a relationship that was there. So making sure that we're also keeping up with our happiness. And another thing is the power of imagination. My success today is through imagination. There are so many people in here that have so many different ideas that only you prayed about, ideas that you've only told a few people about. Take those ideas and run with it. We are sitting in a society where someone came up with the idea of Bitcoin and people thought they were silly. But right now, those people that bought into it are millionaires. I'm just hoping that Sheba does the same thing. It was based off an idea. Imagination. What are you dreaming to do? And as you're dreaming, you need to make sure that your vision and what you want to do in life helps inspire or helps make someone else's life better. So we can be extremely successful. You can be extremely rich. I mean, all that stuff can happen. But you're truly successful when your vision and when your goals and when your dreams help the lives of others. The number one thing that is probably the worst thing that could ever happen is to be successful in something that you've never been called to do. So we have a vision. We have a mission. We're put on this earth to do something. We got to figure out what that something is. And that something will be achieved by serving others. So in order to go up, we've got to give up. And that doesn't make sense, but it does. You've got to give up some things in leadership in order to go up. First thing we're going to talk about is you got to give up stability for significance. Now, being stable is, I get it, it's important. But good is the enemy of great. So these ideas that you have, take a chance. Get out the box. Be extraordinary. Like, do not just sit down on mediocre things. For example, if you had your choice between, we'll do two examples. We'll see if you guys are with me today. If you had your choice between Chick-fil-A or Zaxby's, we're gonna go to Chick-fil-A because it's better, right? But real quick poll. You ready? How many people in here put sugar in their grits? Oh my gosh, where? No, I'm just saying. But give up stability for significance. All right, so what I'm saying is that as a leader, you've got to make sure that you're making a significant change in the lives of those that you're affecting. And that change that you're making in others' lives, you got to make sure that you experience the change as well. People need to see leadership. They need to see vision. And they need to see that you are going the extra mile because you're trying to get them to go the extra mile as well. So give up stability. That also means that sometimes you've got to give up what you've always done. If you always do what you've always done, you're going to always get what you've always got. So do something different. Also, we've got to give up fans for friends. We've got to give them up. Everyone's not designed to go on the ride with you. They're not. Some people are just around you so they can see what they can benefit from you. But you got to make sure that you're giving up fans for friends. Because everyone that's in your circle is not necessarily in your corner. And I know we talk about haters. Everybody, we have haters, but sometimes you don't necessarily have haters. Sometimes you actually do have people that want better for you that you just can't receive what they're saying. But look at those that are around you. If your circle's not inspiring you to do better, then it's time for you to go to another circle. You should be able to talk about your hopes, your dreams, your visions, even in leadership with other people, and they should inspire you. Now, I'm a new superintendent. I just started superintendency July the 1st. I just came off of a conference and I sat at the feet of superintendents that were extremely successful because I needed to know, what are they doing? How can I get like them? I want to make sure I can't talk about what I want to do with my system with aides and with teachers. I need to talk with superintendents so I can get better. So if you have a business idea that you're wanting to do, talk to business owners. I am not athletic. I can't give you any advice about a football team. I can't. Matter of fact, my friends are upset with me because I didn't do fantasy football this year. I am so terrible at sports that I picked my fantasy football team by the jerseys. Whichever jersey I thought looked better, that's who were on my team. I was getting drugged every single week. But making sure that with the people that are in your circle, that you can count on them and that they have your back and they have your best interest. Also, we got to give up dollars for a difference. It's easy to make a buck, but it's really hard to make a difference. So in leadership, you're not there just to make money. The money is nice, but you're there to make a difference because there's going to be some tough days. But the richest people in this world are not those that own everything. The richest people in this world are those who own everything that money can't buy. And that's what will take you into leadership. That sets you totally apart from anything else. So let's not focus on the money. That's going to come. Let's focus on the difference that we're making. Because your leadership is dependent on every single person that's in that organization that you're over and the families that are connected. You will encounter those of you who want to be business owners. You will hire people and you will be the source of income for those families. And then those kids will benefit based upon the leadership that you provide to their employee, which is their parents. It's not just about you. Leadership is not about you. Leadership is often a lonely road. A lonely road. You have got to make sure that you're staying true to your call of making a difference. Sometimes we get frustrated in life and we get frustrated in processes, but we've got to remember that when you're doing things, there's a what and there's a why. The what will often frustrate you, but you've always got to go back to your why. Why am I doing this? My goal is that I would say 6 abs. I'll be fine with 2. I'll be fine with 1. That's my why. The what means that I have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go meet my workout partner. And I've got to get out the line from getting fries at Jack's. That's my what. Sometimes that's not comfortable, but I have to always go back to my why. And why is it not just so I can have abs, but I need to make sure that I'm here so I can help have a long life so I can be there to provide for my family. So look at your why. Why are you doing this? And if your why is not clearly defined, it will affect everything else that you have going on. There we go. All right, and let's also, you have got to give up expedience for excellence. Now, you've got to pursue excellence in everything that you do. Does it have to be perfect? No, but you've got to pursue excellence. You've got to pursue excellence. Now, I talked about Chick-fil-A earlier, but there was one time I went to Chick-fil-A and I asked for a certain cheese on my sandwich, and they didn't put the cheese on there. They put another cheese. But because the customer service was so on point, I said, you know what? Maybe I did want that cheese. Maybe they knew and I didn't know. I didn't complain because they were pursuing excellence. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to pursue excellence. And you've got to care. You've got to care. You've got to care. When you care, there's a whole nother level that goes on top of it. We're in the system I just took over. There's a school there that was built in the 60s. Really old building, hadn't been painted in a long time. The kids were just tired of it. It looked bad. We went in there this year, painted it, put some signs up. The kids act like they have a brand new school. They're walking in lines. The whole month of September, we didn't have any discipline issues. And this is one of the high discipline schools because their mindset changed because their environment changed. So we're pursuing excellence, not perfection, but excellence. So, me and this clicker gonna fight. All right, and then master of one, not many. Sometimes we get really shallow when we're pursuing things. Focus on your niche. Everyone in this room is not called to sell eyelashes on Facebook. We're not. You have a special gift that is just specific for you. The leadership that you have is specific for you. There's not a cookie cutter approach to leadership. You can't just look on there and see, well, Maxwell did this, so I'm going to do it. No, it has to be specific for you. My wife and I went through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace, and we're talking about budgeting and everything. And what happens is sometimes we'll look at what someone else has experienced and think, well, ours has to be exactly like that. Not realizing the journey is to take what they've done and you fix it for your life. So don't think that you're going to find a cookie cutter approach to leadership. You can pick up books and it can help you craft your leadership, but that leadership is internal. You've already got it. You just got to find skills to make sure that it comes out in the appropriate way to serve. So I want to talk about some relationships, and leadership goes hand in hand. So leadership is important. No one wants to just be following someone and they can't see leadership, but it has to have a relationship piece. And I'm all about relationships. I love character education. And so I'm going to go through a couple of examples and trying to make sure I stay good with my time. So you've got to invest quality time. As a leader, you've got to invest quality time. Invest quality time in the relationships that you have with other people, but make sure you're investing quality time in yourself. You need to continuously be on a road for professional development for yourself. Just because you have a degree doesn't mean that you end learning there. No, continue to get better. Look online, find those classes, go to Google University and look up things that will help you. Look up articles. My example is that I want you to meet Jacory. He's the guy in the top left, because it's not about the endless hours of time, it's about how you choose to spend the time that truly matters. So Jacory was my first drum major when I was a band director. He was a really bright young man. And I decided that I would ask him to be in my wedding because he was one of the first students that I met when I got to the school, and I absolutely adored him. I thought he was a great man, and when I asked him, he was excited. So the way that Jacory honored this is that when he got married, he asked me to be in his wedding. So here it is, my big old behind is up there in this wedding with all these 20-year-olds, but it was a relationship that was built there. And Jacory went to Alabama A&M University because I was his mentor, and he is an engineer. Just talked to him yesterday. He is in New Mexico for the next 2 or 3 weeks working on a project. Beautiful family. So the relationships that you establish and where you spend your time matters, because we all get 24 hours in a day. That's all you're getting, 24 hours. It's how you choose to spend those 24 hours that determines what happens. If you if you choose to be lazy, then you can't expect to get a different result. One of my favorite things is that you can't go to Dollar Tree and expect Target results. It's two different brands, serves two different purposes. So making sure that we're investing our quality time. Next. You've got to care for all. As a leader, you've got to care for every single person, the ones you like, the ones you have disagreements with. You've got to care for people. In this example, I want you to meet not Jacory, but Jarrell. Everything bad about Jarrell, I heard all of it. Jarrell was a dropout. He was in the gang. Before I got there, he had been suspended like 20-something times during the year. Like, it was just a lot of bad negativity that came around Jarrell. The difference with Jarrell is that a lot of the stuff that happened to him, he had no control. He was homeless in New York because his mom passed away. And instead of his family bringing him back, they left him up there and he ran away. So when he came to live with his grandmother, he came to school. This is the second time in school. He didn't really care. So not too long after my mom died, he came to my office and he said, "Hey, how do you do?" I said, "What are you talking about? Come on in, let's talk." He's like, "Well, your mom died. My mom died. My dad just died. Like, I don't have anybody." So in that moment, I didn't see him as being this bad kid that everybody talked about. I saw him as me, because my mom had passed away and I felt what he was feeling. So we talked for about 45 minutes that day, created this bond that is still extremely strong today. That next year, he only got suspended out of school 3 times. He actually participated in our Black History program and was in a play. Me and him did a play together that I wrote. And he was super excited. And I told him, I said, "I don't care where you see me. You better always come up, give me a hug and tell me you love me, because I'm just saying for you." And that's happened. So you've got to make sure that you're caring for all, because his story could have been totally different. And there are so many people that you're going to be in leadership that you're going to encounter that you're going to change their lives just based off of how you care for them. You got to build trust. People have got to be able to trust you as a leader. You just can't say, "Hey, trust me. Okay, now everyone trusts me. Let's move on." No, they've got to be able to see that they can trust you. So I want you to meet my school son, Brady. Now, Brady was one of those you had to show Brady. You can talk to Brady all day long, but he's got to see it. And he challenged me a lot of days on just how he viewed life. We still keep in touch. He went to Talladega College and played baseball. He's actually about to go to the military now. But no matter what the problem we are trying to solve, before we can impact lives, we must reflect and improve ourselves. So your journey into leadership has got to apply to you as well. You've got to be growing. You can't be the same leader 10 years from now that you are today. You've got to evolve because the situations change. All right, and believe in dreams. As a leader, you're there because someone believed in your dreams and they helped you get there. Well, as a leader, you've got to help other people believe in their dreams. It's not for you to determine the dreams of others. Your goal is you help them believe in it. So this example is probably one of the best examples I have. Is DeQuindra. She was one of my high school students. She's plus size, beautiful girl. In high school, she talked about dancing. She talked about cheering, and she talked about modeling. But because of her size, a lot of people said, "No, you're not going to be able to do that." And she proved them wrong. She went to Alabama State University and became a honeybee. She was able to go to America's Got Talent. They were on the Steve Harvey show. And then she tried out for a modeling casting call with this company called Torrid. And hold on, I went the wrong way. Oh, that messed up my whole effect. I'm sorry. She was able to walk in New York Fashion Week. If you go to Torrid, you'll see her. She's modeling the jeans. She's also done a thing with, I think it's called Lancome or some kind of skin product line. She's on ads and flyers for Walmart. Like, she is doing it. They tried to get her to quit college and to go directly into modeling. She believed in her dreams, and she had people around her that believed in her dreams as well. That's what leadership does. Leadership takes the impossible and it makes it possible. And then try something new. In leadership, we've got to be able to try something new. If we continue to try old things, then we're going to continue to get old things back. Try something new. So this young man is Justin. We were going to see a basketball game. We wanted to play pool. I can't really play pool, but I can talk a lot of trash. So I'm talking trash or whatever. We played pool, and it became where once we got back to our school, because we're trying something new, I had a full arcade in my high school. We had a pool table, ping pong table, basketball games, 4 arcade games, card games. Like, we had all this for the students because we're trying something new. We would have on Wednesdays, we would go play pool after school for an hour every Wednesday, just off of a new relationship and just trying something new. And that was able to make a connection with them. So let's talk about integrity, and I'm almost done. I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys, but leadership is a lot. Integrity. You've got to have integrity in a position of leadership. That means you've got to do what's right because it's right, even when no one is looking. The level of integrity that you have will determine how far you go in leadership. You've got to have integrity. Integrity in leaders refers to being honest, trustworthy, and reliable. Leaders with integrity act in accordance with their words. An example, they practice what they preach and own up to their mistakes as opposed to hiding them, blaming their team, or making excuses. Leadership, you can't make excuses. And it's okay to make a mistake, own up to it, and move on. I have 3 beautiful children, and my daughter wrote on the wall the other day, and hey, how'd this get on the wall? Mommy asked me a question, and then I remembered, no, just own up to it. Just own up to it. So you can't blame others for your mistake. You cannot blame others for your mistake in leadership. It's the number one way that will discredit everything that you've done, dealing with integrity. So real quick integrity check. Number 1, am I accountable for my behavior and the decisions that I make? So these are quick checks that you can do to check your integrity as you're operating in leadership. Number 2, do I accept responsibility for my mistakes? These are questions you can ask yourself. Number 3, am I setting a good example? You can hear all day long, but what walk are you walking in leadership? Also, do I always follow through on my commitments and promises? People look at that. If you say you're going to do X, Y, and Z, make sure you're doing X, Y, and Z. And last but not least, do I act in ways that build trust? 5 simple ways that you can check your integrity when it comes to dealing with people, especially in the area of leadership. So let's improve it. We've checked it, let's improve it. Cultivate a good reputation. Your reputation, who you are, your character speaks volumes. When you have a good reputation, or when you set standards about your reputation, then people won't believe the chatter that they may hear on Facebook or out in the streets. So what's your reputation, especially when it comes to leadership? Went the wrong way again. Also, a good reputation stems from being perceived as honest, responsible, reliable, and respectful by one's coworkers and direct reports, meaning that people can trust you. Next, consistency is key. Be consistent. Be consistent. Being inconsistent is terrible. Be consistent. You want to make sure that people can count on you. They can count on you to do what needs to be done just simply by your consistency. And your words and your actions should always match. And then have high moral standards. As a leader, people are going to look up to you. It's not fair, but you can't do what everyone else does. You can't. Leaders, we have to be different. Your life is on display 24/7. In my position, I was outside painting a picture, spray painting, because sometimes you don't want to buy new stuff, so you just spray paint what you have. So I'm spray painting this metal frame, and I got a phone call. So yeah, I heard you was outside painting. Who's looking at me painting on a Sunday? So as a leader, you're always going to be on display. People will always take what you say and what you do to make a judgment. So in closing, set a good example, take responsibility for your actions, and honor your commitments. Leaders, set a good example, take responsibility for your actions, and honor your commitments. 3 simple ways that you can be a highly effective leader. Set a good example, take responsibility for your actions, and honor your commitments. So this is my family now. I consider myself to be extremely blessed and extremely fortunate because I've been able to live the life that I dreamed about. Earlier, I told you guys that as a 5-year-old, I didn't know my father. I met my father for the first time March 9th of this year. Like almost 40 years of not knowing, and that happened. And that was something I dreamed and prayed about when I was a young kid. So don't stop believing in the dreams that you have, even when you're younger. Like if you want to start that business, then take the steps to start it. You can't start a business that you never sit down and actually write it out. And so everything I prayed for as a little boy has happened. I have a beautiful family. My wife is actually a health and wellness coach, and she's a doctor of physical therapy. And then my kids are just adorable. They're pretty. I make some pretty kids. But this is the example of what can happen when you really believe in yourself, and then you allow other people to help shape and mold you. So as leaders, going out into the world, know that it's a lonely road at times, but it's a road that you can do if you make the decision to steadfast. So I hope you guys have been inspired today. Thank you.